Welcome in, football fans. We're back for LFFL Prime Time with your Week 8 recaps, your Week 9 previews, all in just 5 minutes. Before we get started, I want to remind you that we will determine a champion this year. We have made it through 8 weeks, which was our bare minimum. From here to the Super Bowl, we'll use this fancy little formula I've drawn out here. I don't think it's going to be an issue. The NFL is clearly plowing through these problems no matter what. But I did want to remind you, we are now official. We will be crowning champions. Moving on to the LFFL League, I hope to be the champion in. We had a big week from Greg destroying Matt. Phil beat Josh. Bill put up the high score in his win over Eric. Andy beat Miles. It was Andy's third straight win. And I beat Todd in a battle at the top. I now move in one game of Todd. Todd sits at 5-2. Myself, Phil, and Bill all sit at 5-3. Andy, Greg, and Matt all sit at 4-4, battling for playoff position. Josh and Eric at 3-5, just outside the playoff line, and Miles is needing and wins at 1-7. This week, I've got Bill facing off with Matt. Bill holds the 14-11 lead in this series. I've got Miles facing off with Phil. This is a Week 5 rematch. The Week 5 game was won by Phil, who now holds a 2-1 lead in this series. I've got Todd facing off with Josh. This was actually a Week 1 game, a close 8-point win for Todd, improving his record against Josh to 15-9. I've got Andy facing off with Werrick, of course, a rematch of the second closest Super Bowl ever, won by Andy, 142-139 back in 2007. These guys also played in Week 1, a game won by Andy, just a 7-point win, a tight one. However, Eric does hold the overall lead in the series, 19-15. Finally, GK and I. Oh, this has been played a lot. 3 different Super Bowls, 2 of them won by Greg. We have got a lot of wins. I beat him in Week 5, which means we are a dead even 14-14 in the series. So good luck this week, Greg. Moving on to the LFFL2. Huge game between Bill and Greg this week. 2 high-scoring teams this week. Bill squeaks out the 7-point win over Greg, now increases his lead to 2 games over Greg, Eric, and Sean. Other winners this week, Merrill's, Sean, Andy, and myself. After that logjam at 5-3, Andy and Todd sit at 4-4. Myself and the Merrills at 3-5, Phil and Miles at 2-6. Bill could easily lose a couple of games. Anyone is still in this game right now. Week 9 matchups, Eric and the Merrills, Greg and Phil, Miles and Sean, Todd and Bill, myself, and my brother. Moving on to LFFL 3, Greg gets his 3rd straight win, beating Andy. I've got Phil with the high score of the week over Matt Merrill. Matt Brennan beat Todd. Eric beat Bill, and Miles beat me in a close one. Look at this cluster on the top of the board. Miles, Phil, Eric, Greg, Bill, congratulations, you're all in first place at 5-3. Matt Brennan and Andy at 4-4. Myself and Matt Merrill 3-5, and Todd at 1-7. Moving on to Week 9 here. Got Matt Merrill and Greg, Phil versus Matt Brennan, Eric versus Andy, Miles versus Todd, and Bill versus myself. Moving on to the LFFF4. Congratulations to my good friend Phil Kaufman. Won for the first time this season, but his 9th win overall. And with that win, the Kaufmans and the Simonses have won at least once in every single season. And I'm worried about GK here, trying to be the Bills. 3rd straight 2nd place finish. Don't do it next week, Greg. Don't do it. But for the season, Greg does take over the lead. I am closely behind him. Got Eric in 3rd, Matt Brennan in 4th, Nate in 5th, Bill in 6th, Phil in 7th. Still anybody's ball game, Andy and 8th. Moving on over here to the LFFL 5. Remember, any score within 10 points is always questionable this league. And I got a tight one. Slick beat Bill by just 4 points. So who knows on that one? Andy beat Miles. Eric beat Phil. Todd beat Sean. And Greg destroyed me. Greg moves out to the 7-1 record, 2 games clear of the field. Andy and Eric sit at 5-3. Bill, Phil, Slick all 4-4. Myself, Todd, Miles 3-5. Sean at 2-6. Coming up in Week 9, I got Slick, Andy, got Eric, Todd, Bill, and Phil, Greg and Miles, Sean and myself. Moving on to LFFL 6, we had a bunch of leaders change hands here. Our current leaders, myself in February, Sean in March, Miles in April, Greg in May, Sean in June, Andy in July, Greg in August. Todd continues to sit top 3 in 6 of the 7 leagues. Matt Merrill was your biggest mover, going from 6th up to 4th, moving up a whole point in the average. Top 3 sit exactly the same. Todd, myself, and Greg in the same order as last week. LFFL 7, looks like I am out. I joined this close list out people over here. Seriously, next year I'm going to expand these rosters to 507 people because I was just decimated with injuries as we had nobody playing. Got 6 teams still alive. Bill, Matt, Brennan, Josh, Todd, Miles, and Thomas all still competing for the prize. Josh and Todd took it deep last year as well. So moving on to the LFFL player there, really no changes here. We have a 3-way tie at the top. Todd, Greg, and I all sit tied. Bill in 2nd. Miles, big mover. Congratulations. Hey, good luck to you this week. Looking forward to Week 9.